Okay, so this is Mary Cordelia here, and I'm here with my brother, Will, who took the 21 Day Empowerment Challenge course with me a few months ago, and liked it. And I figure if you can impress your brother, you're doing pretty good. And so Will agreed to come on and just talk a little bit about it and what he got from it and what he thought was valuable about it. And Will has the advantage for me of giving a point of view that I don't have very much, because there aren't too many men who've taken the course. It's been mostly women. So he can give us a male point of view. And then a lot of the people who work with me are kind of woo-woo, touchy-feely, and William really isn't. And so Will can give you the sort of more pragmatic point of view, maybe, and also, so just to give us another voice here. So, hey, Will.
Hi. Okay, I'll start by saying that I described my feelings about what you were doing in the past as sort of law of attraction-y, and I was very skeptical about it. And I've been studying psychology for a number of years, just amateurishly, just for fun. And every time that I had a question about any aspect of it, I would ping Mary, and then Mary would tell me a dissertation on it. She had obviously already studied it, and then she had all these other avenues of interpretation of the same thing that I was being wowed by. And then I was studying some other ideas about confirmation bias and how it affects our abilities to see what's in front of our face. And one of the famous stories or studies is a study where they split a group of people into those that believe themselves to be lucky and those that believe themselves to be unlucky, and they give them a task where they ask them to do a kind of an unpleasant job. You're supposed to count the number of words or something in a 2 pages of newspaper ads. But right in the center of all these newspaper ads is one of the ads saying, "Stop, go tell your tester that the answer is 255. And so the people who found that ad were statistically significantly the ones who believed themselves to be lucky.
Yeah.
So just because they believed themselves to be lucky, they were more lucky. Okay. So when this information came to me, then I finally realized this is not even slightly BS. This is just hacking your own human psychology to get the best results. That's all it is. And so there's other things which I was just telling my friend yesterday, because I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he was telling me about how difficult it is to study martial arts as you're approaching 50. Back when he was 35 and we were both greener, I was older than him by 5 years, and he was beating me up, and I didn't like it because I was a higher belt than him. And so I thought to myself, oh, okay, well, the way that it worked for me when I started getting older is I just decided that I was not going to accept that I had to defend my belt. I wasn't going to say, oh, I'm a brown belt, I can't tap to a purple belt, okay? Because a purple belt's below a brown belt. And so what that did for me is I decided very specifically, I'm going to let the purple belts tap me sometimes. And that's good for them because it helps them. It gives them a feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment. But also it gives me an opportunity to view them going through the finalization of their path and even more information to perhaps avoid it the next time, right? So I was telling him about the idea of focusing on what is important to you, because that means you will notice more of what is important to you, and to stop focusing on what you do not like, because that will only cause you to notice more of what you do not like. The other thing you told me recently was you were talking about the focus of tinnitus. You were talking about the neurons that fire together, wire together, right? And so you have tinnitus, as I do, right? You go to the doctor and they say it's in your brain. It's not in your ears. It's got nothing to do with your ears. We could cut your ears off and your tinnitus would still be there. And then I say, okay, then the only answer that's even available to you is to ignore it and to try and stop it from firing neurons. And so these are the types of things that Mary's helped me with, you know. And I didn't feel that I was as engaged as I should have been when I took the class. But part of that was because I was so focused on trying to make progress playing guitar. So, one of the things I wanted to remember to bring up was that when I imagined going on a group chat and spending an hour on a Saturday morning, it seemed like it would be a big chore and that I would really not enjoy it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was very surprised to find out that I had a great time, a lot of interesting people there. And I would recommend this to absolutely anybody that I cared about. I wouldn't recommend it to somebody that I wanted to not succeed, okay? Not that there are many people like that. But
those people you want to fail, do not recommend this course to them.
That's right. That's right. I do believe that Mary is on to some kind of next level psychological hacking of, you know, just understanding which thought patterns can give us the best results in our life. And so where I was going with, I didn't feel like I was engaged enough. The thing that it was is that it did help me in lots of different ways to continue to focus on what thoughts were helpful to me and to jettison the ones that were not.
Yeah.
and in fact, then I read this book that my teacher told me to read called Effortless Mastery. And in that, there's a whole section on jettisoning useless thoughts. And one of them was, because I was telling my teacher, oh, wow, man, that's difficult. I've got a lot of heavy lifting ahead of me, you know? And he says, well, you know, that's not really helpful thinking. And if you reframe it to say that it's just unfamiliar instead of that it's difficult, it will help you to not make it more difficult for yourself. And I'll be darned if I didn't work with a particular guitar riff that I was trying to do, and it just seemed so hard. And then one day it just, boop, it became easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really think that Mary's onto something. I wish for her to spread this message as far and wide as possible, because she's going to help a lot of people to reduce their pain in life.
Great. That's great. Thanks, Will. Yeah. So what William mentioned earlier is confirmation bias. And one of the things that we talk about, it's actually in challenge number 2. So in the 21-day challenges, there's a bunch of different challenges. And this time it's in challenge number 2. And the idea is that we see what we expect to see. And this is super duper duper confirmed. And we'll talk about brain studies and everything else, just so it's absolutely clear. And so the flip side of that is if we can begin to choose a new expectation, like deliberately choose, I would prefer to see the world this way. I don't see the world this way yet, but I would prefer to. And what William called a reframe, then we're actually sending a message to our brain to start filtering for that data. And then it starts collecting that data, filtering for it as opposed to filtering it out. And now we begin to see it. And then what William was saying about these people who are kind of accidentally lucky, we begin to follow that data in the direction of what we want. And it's kind of an infinite building of momentum, like one snowflake rolling into a snowball, rolling into an avalanche, you know? So we build momentum. So the beginning starts with the acknowledgement that we have this confirmation bias and we can work with it. We can take that data and help ourselves.
And I think that that's even just the first level, because when you talk about the stress, right? The studies that showed that stress hurts people physically, and then they restudied the data 10 years later, the same people, And then they felt obliged to apologize because they found out that it was only the people that believed it was bad for their health were suffering bad health effects from it. Then you realize that that confirmation bias can go so far as to physically manifest itself in your health.
As heart disease, as a heart attack, like killing you early. Exactly. Exactly.
It's just mind-boggling.
It's
And these are stuff that I thought was impossible and not scientific and, you know, absurd. And now I just have to say, wow, you know, what I don't know fills volumes, and I certainly should not prejudge situations like this, you know?
Yeah. And the thing that I've done that I think is making a difference, and I feel actually very proud of this, because I've been working for a lot of years to try and take really complex stuff, right? A lot of, and there, you know, all the TED Talks and the books and my own studies. And I did, you know, 4 years of intensive training in one program and 3 years in another. Like, I've done a lot, worked with great teachers, to really take that and break it down into pieces that become building blocks for experiential understanding. So that I'm working with someone and I say, try this. Oh, see? And they're like, oh, okay. And then they try the next thing. They're like, oh, okay. And our motto in the 21-day empowerment challenge is rock it till you grok it. And the idea behind that is you do it, you rock it. You don't just think about it or read about it or whatever, or journal about it. No, you do something and you do it. And then, oh, you see the result, you know, because literally when you do something, there's a result. And then you begin to own the understanding. And grokking it means you know it in your body, the way we know that we love the taste of certain foods. Like, oh, we just know it. So we rock it till you grok it. And so the idea is to make that appealing and fun and joyful and playful, and building the steps toward getting it and developing real empowerment. Yeah, so the first time I did it, I called it something else. I can't remember, the 21-day something challenge. But during that, I became very, very clear that what I was doing was I was training people to recognize the connection between where they were focusing their attention and the shift in their sense and capacity, their empowerment, their sense of empowerment, and their ability to step into action that served them and made them happy. So the relationship between your focus and your empowerment. And then I renamed it for the second and third challenges. And now we're on our fourth. So, and in fact, this one, I think, William, you'll be pleased. William has also talked to my brother Coleman, who's probably also going to come in, right? So I'm hoping Will and Cole will be in the challenge. He reached out to me, Will. He called me the other day and said, okay, Will says I have to do this thing. So I said, all right. And and my sister Rosanna did it too, by the way. She did like the one before you, Will. So we'll have the whole family in there eventually. And I'm modifying this one in some really good ways. I've mentioned this a few times, that I went on this 10-day silent retreat based on William's recommendation. And while I was there, I had this sudden brain download about how to restructure it. And I scribbled it all down in little tiny writing on these tiny pieces of paper that I scrambled to get. And so I restructured it. So now the 3 weeks are very concretely steps. Week 1 is seeing the brain more clearly, seeing the mind more clearly. Week 2 is stepping into a new relationship with what you see more clearly. And week 3 is connecting to the intuition. So we step back from the like scrambling habitual brain that says, oh man, this is hard, into the brain that says, wait, I can reframe this, which I'm calling the choosing brain. And then we step even further than that back into the intuitive brain. So it's really structured now to help very clearly see that. And then once you get the structure, you can work on it yourself. So, yay.
That's exciting.
I know, right? I'm having so much fun. Like literally this morning, I was on the phone with my friend Ramona. We have a morning phone call 6 days a week to, for training our focus. We've been doing it for about 3 years now. And we had a call this morning, and just this morning she said, oh, I've got this thing up on my wall. And I'm like, what is that? And she explained to me, I said, oh, can I use that for my course? Just this morning, she photographed it and sent me a photograph, and I'm going to use it as one of the challenges within the course. So yeah, so it'll be fun. And the course is fun and rewarding. And yeah, so anything else you want to say, Will, before we wrap it up here?
I just, like I said, I recommend this to anybody that I love.
All right, William. Well, I love you. You're awesome.
Thank you. I love you too, Mary.
Okay.
Mwah.